There's lots of room, chairs on the other side. Somebody's looking for a chair. Thank you. So we're going to start. We've got 1 minute left. Countdown. David's checking his watch. Nobody still wears. I still wear a watch. An old school watch. And you're all welcome to stay. Scott, if you guys want to stay, you can stay. I'm teasing. I'm sure you have other stuff to do. I am going to talk about that group that just did a presentation, so we'll touch on that in a few slides. So I think we're good to go. Thank you, Bailey. Good afternoon, everyone. How is everyone this afternoon? Good. Awesome. Beautiful day. Who has taken advantage of this beautiful day? All right. Jack, you did not raise your hand. Did you take advantage of the beautiful? Oh, he's got food in both hands. He's double fisting. All right, here we go. We're already into February. Wow, late February. Does everybody know when the time change happens? March 10th. Thank you. Thank you, Lynn. So I shared that because Jennifer said to me, you should talk about the time change. And then I just realized that I forgot to put it in one of the slides, so I figured I'd just talk about it. So March 10th, what happens in the spring? Spring forward, fall back, right? Okay, so we gain an extra hour later in the day, so that's only a couple weeks away. So it's our regular format. Once again, from an agenda standpoint, we'll talk about the resident council discussion that happens always the week before. Right, so a week ago, last Tuesday, the resident council met, so we'll have a bunch of information from that conversation. We will talk about the building representatives for 2024, so that was part of the conversation at the resident council meeting. We're going to give you an update on renovations, residential buildings. In the department updates section, we'll talk about some of the different projects that are happening at the community, so we'll give you an update on that. And then I always close it out with a question and answer session at the end, so please keep questions till the end. Jennifer has the microphone, she'll circulate the microphone, and then before you ask your question, if you could just say your name so everybody knows who is speaking. And remember that we are recording this, and there are residents at home that are watching the presentation. 2 or 3 at least. All right. First topic, this one continues to come up, tree trimming of remaining hardwoods first. So we've been talking about tree trimming for a while. We did some hardwood trimming last year. We've decided on a strategy. We're going to address the remaining hardwood trees first. That will happen first before the palm trees. This should be completed. I would say I put by early May. It could even be throughout the month of April that the hardwoods are completed. Because ultimately, once we complete that, we want to start the palm tree trimming in May. So we're trying to get on the right schedule, which is normally hurricane season, right? We know hurricane season starts officially in June. However, in Southwest Florida, we know that peak season for hurricanes is August, September timeframe, right? October, maybe a little bit. So we're going to try to get this done in May, maybe bleed a little bit into June, but hopefully in May we can get all the palm trees. And the goal is to complete the hardwoods, as I said, and then do all of the palm trees on the campus, make sure that they're all trimmed properly for hurricane season. Or I prefer to say storm season, not hurricane season. As a reminder, trimming is for the safety and the health of the trees. So safety first, right? What's safe? What do we need to do? And we had a conversation about this at the resident council. There was some conversation about views, right? Oh, I have a view, I would like a branch to be trimmed or a tree to be trimmed, or I have received requests to actually cut a tree down completely because it blocks the view. We will not be doing that. It'll be really based on the safety first, and then obviously the health of the tree. And then there was some discussion about landscape replacement projects. I had shared, I think, later last year and into this year that we've identified some areas. It continues to come up in the resident council that there's some areas of landscape that are very tired. I acknowledge, yes, there are areas around the community that are very tired, both from a shrub, plant, flower perspective, but also some of the grass. I will share with all of you that I've had a few conversations with some residents about some of the grass areas. There is a combination of some areas that do have some issues with, I'm gonna call it bugs or insects that are kind of causing issues with sod. However, this is probably one of the coolest winters in a long, long time in Southwest Florida. It can also have an impact on the turf, on the grass. It will change the color of the grass. So as the cooler temperatures happen, and as they happen more often, we've had many nights where we wake up in the morning and it's 49, 50, 51, 52 degrees, and then it does warm up during the day, but that overnight low does impact the turf. So the turf here is it's a Bermuda grass, St. Augustine grass, and it likes the heat. It does not like the cool weather. So what does it do when there's a significant amount of cool weather over a certain amount of time? It'll go off color. Okay, it'll go dormant, basically. In some cases, a lot of that will come back. So as the overnight temperatures are more high 60s into the 70s, you'll see some of that come back. Some of it will not. I totally understand that, but some of it will. So we're going to be working on some landscape replacement projects. This is a topic of conversation at the resident council meeting. I debated between rodents and varmints. I think rodents is better than varmints. But this has happened on several occasions. Actually, there is no rhyme or reason. I've heard it from a few different places. So we have, subsequent to that, met with our exterminator and have gone through, and there was some debate at the council meeting as to what can we do, what can't we do. So we have set up some traps in some strategic locations to try to diminish this happening. So we'll be looking for your feedback. I'm sure I will hear of the feedback if it happens again, but we do really need to stay in tune with this to try to reduce the number of cases that are happening, because it has happened a little too often. Benches. So there's been some conversation about benches. We have in our possession new benches that will be positioned, and you should see that starting to happen this week, I'm being told, if everything goes well, in front of the residential buildings. If you'd like to know what type of bench, Building 3 has the benches that will go in front of each one of the buildings. Okay, so we have them for all the buildings. We also have just received the benches to replace all the other benches. So the ones that are on the inside part of the campus that are looking a little tired, a little bit old, around the ponds, in those areas, we have a sufficient number of benches to replace those. And as they get installed, they will immediately be fixed and secured in place so that they can't slide around and move around. Okay, that is coming. I want to be crystal clear that the benches that are going in do not have cushions. Okay, so no new cushions are coming. They're designed for you to be able to sit in those benches without cushions. All right. Okay, so these are the ones that just tells you that we're going to be doing also. We're going to start with the front of the buildings, and then we're going to finish with everything else around the campus. This is also a hot topic and has been for a while. Vehicles not parked in proper spots. We will start to put warnings on those vehicles. So basically a written note that says you are parked in an inappropriate place. We're also gonna start looking at vehicles that do not have tags on them, so that are not identified either as a resident vehicle or as a staff member or a team member vehicle, because our staff members do have tags on their cars, and we will be tagging those. If after one of these warnings, we see a repeat offender, so we see that same vehicle just say, and they park in the same location, we will be towing that vehicle. And the community will not be assuming the expense for that. It's either gonna go to the resident or to the owner of that vehicle, okay? Fortunately, we don't want to do this, but we've seen too much ongoing, so we're gonna start to clamp down on vehicle parking. And we are gonna be completing the identification of parking places, and we will be correcting the typo on a few of those spots. So I'm sure some of you have seen the typo. We have resident parking spaces. Please register vehicle with concierge desk. If you have a frequent visitor, we should also identify that vehicle. If you have a caregiver who's here on a regular basis, that vehicle needs to be identified also. If you have somebody who comes and visits you once every 3 months or once every 6 months, not necessary, but if they're here on a regular basis, we should identify it. Thank you for this. We identified, I think in the last 2 meetings, that residents were leaving all sorts of personal items in various areas, both in the residential buildings, sometimes less in the clubhouse, but sometimes in the clubhouse, with signs saying, please take me, I'm free, pick me up, I'm good to go. We've seen a decrease in that. Thank you for that. I think the message is starting to get across, so that's a good thing. So we had a conversation about signage. We've shared this information for probably the last 2 or 3 weeks, but just as a reminder, tomorrow, a team will be here to start the installation of the new signage that goes in the residential buildings. And that's all signage. So signage on doors, signage for the apartments, where we're gonna have the names of the residents, any directional signage, all of that signage is gonna be done tomorrow, Thursday, Friday. If they need to complete, they've told us that they'll stay Saturday to complete. So fingers crossed that they'll be done by the time that they exit either Friday or Saturday. This is a request that's come to get a water connection, a water spigot in front of the residential buildings. We think we have a good idea, so that will be coming. We're gonna start with one particular building. If that works, we're probably gonna look at each one of the residential buildings to have a water spigot, a water connection put in front of the buildings. And then there was a general discussion about newspaper delivery. I threw that in there. I'm looking at Bill. Some people are taking newspapers that do not belong to them. Please, if they're not in the residential buildings, they are specific to a resident in the residential buildings. I look at Bill, and the reason I look at Bill is in his building, I think you actually pick them up and distribute them, don't you? So he knows who they are. Not everybody does that in every building. So if you did not purchase and do not pay for a newspaper, it's not yours.
Surprise.
Mark, you know where they're leaving them?
Where are they leaving them?
In the elevator.
Who's they?
Whoever delivers the paper, put them in the elevator, that's it.
Well, here would be my recommendation, and we'll follow up with the delivery people. However, it carries more weight if the actual person who's purchasing the subscription contacts them to say, hey, don't drop my copy of my newspaper in the elevator, please. make sure it gets dropped at the door. And then the hammer that you have is to say, listen, I'm not gonna buy the newspaper from you anymore. If you leave it in the elevator and my neighbor picks it up all the time, what's the point, right? I'm just giving you money and I'm not getting the newspaper. Carolyn.
When I first moved in here, Mark, I contacted the Naples Daily News, and I suggested that they put, you know,
On the bag?
on the slat of the bag, the, apartment number.
Mhm.
And they did that for about maybe 2 weeks, and they don't do it anymore.
Didn't last. We'll follow up. We can call them, and we have called them on behalf of the community before. We'll reiterate that how important that is for them to do that. However, if some of you are still subscribing, I would encourage you to continue to do the same. Okay? Okay, so the resident council, we've talked a little bit about this over the last little while. We were trying to drum up some interest, right, to get people to put their name forward to be a building representative. We had 50 people come forward. No, they're shaking their head. So we did not have 50 people come forward. This year there will not be any elections. So what that means is that only one person came forward for each one of the residential buildings that has an open position. Okay, so we didn't get multiple people. So they're smart. Probably. So I'd like to announce the individuals that will be on the resident council for 2024 for 2-year terms. Okay, so they'll be doing a 2-year term. The residents were announced at the last meeting. Building 2, Helen Gottlieb will be the building representative for Building 2. I know Helen's not here, she's enjoying herself somewhere. Jack Cook, Building 4, can't be that bad. Second term, third term, second term? Okay. Two terms, so he's back for more. Building 6 is Loretta Huber. So Loretta has come forward as the Building 6 representative. And then the Villa Homes, Gina Herbst will be the Villa representative moving for the next 2 years. Okay? So once again, even numbered buildings plus the villas are on even numbered years. Okay? 2024. They'll be back in 2026. The remaining buildings will either complete their 2-year term, or there was a change in Building 7. There was a change there due to a resident passing away, so this person will be on a 1-year term. So Building 3 is Bill Hyatt. Mr. Hyatt is the representative for Building 3 again. Building 5, Jim Cooper, once again, for a second 2-year term. And then Rita Weiss was a person who came forward who did fill in, I'm looking for Rita, there she is, who did fill in temporarily, but now has been acclimated to building representative. So once again, well, I'm going to say congratulations, right? And this group of people do many things. They don't just meet once a month. They go through all of the suggestions that anybody will put in their suggestion boxes. They work with me. They work with the different department directors, you know, closely on trying to communicate and make sure that there's a flow of information and we're all working towards making the environment the best that it can be. So thank you for everything you do. All right. Oh, everybody read the first word. So I want to distinguish here, so everything it's clear with everybody, that elevator cab refurbishing is exactly what it says. It's the cosmetics of the interior of the cabin that will be updated to new, okay? That, I'm being told, will start on March 5th. So that is not to do with the operation of the elevator. I'm going to get to that in a little bit, okay? So this is elevator refurbishment. We did this to Building 3 when we did the renovation. We now need to do all the remaining buildings, okay? And it's supposed to start on March 5th. Each elevator will take approximately 2 to 3 days to complete. The interruptions should be minimal. I put TBD, to be determined, basically because I don't really have the exact timeline, but they should be able to do work where the elevator cannot be used later in the day, so evening potentially also, where the elevator is not really getting used a lot, or very early in the morning before it starts to get used. So we try to minimize the interruptions here because it really is just a cosmetic interior of the cabin. So I will be issuing the schedule to everybody in advance, so you've got sufficient notice as to when that is happening. And that is, once again, refurbishment. Okay? We talked about signage, tomorrow, Thursday, and Friday. That's happening. I'm still waiting for that date. There's pieces of furniture as you get off, primarily second and third floor lobbies. There's an additional piece of furniture that's older and outdated that is going to be removed and replaced. So as soon as I have that date, I will let you know. Please remember that your really personal items need to stick to your doorway. So the shelving that you have your doorway, they should not exceed the outside, not in the hallway. Okay, so you shouldn't have personal statues and whatever down the hallway. Okay, so inside the doorway. We mentioned this last month. The internal mailboxes that are here are going to remain here. They're not going to be relocated to the lobbies of the residential buildings. That was a decision that the ownership decided not to relocate those mailboxes. Okay. And as I said, we're not done with elevators. I'm coming to elevators later. We've talked a little bit about this. I want to reiterate and remind everybody that if you do experience slower service, there's several individuals that you can speak with. You can speak with Katie, you can speak with Lee, Amber, or Jeremy. They're the point people. They have a system in place that they can look at the time that the order was put into our system. And the way this works is the order gets taken at the table, it gets inputted into the computer system, and right away it gets pushed out to the kitchen. Okay, so hold your question, Mr. Newman, okay? It gets pushed to the kitchen. There is a mechanism in the software for us to check that time. We can then corroborate that time, look at that time, relative to the closing out of the ticket. And we can look at those 2 moments in time and make a determination of how long it's taken. I will share with you that there are times that it is long. I'm not standing here saying that it's not. However, there have been times when we've been told that it's been long, and we've done this analysis, and from start to finish, it's been 37 minutes, 39 minutes, 45 minutes, 48 minutes. The majority of the time that we've searched, the majority of the service times have been under an hour. Okay? So I'm not standing here saying it's not an issue. We are going to continue to monitor this and navigate it through training of our staff, making sure it's happening properly. If there are issues where it took you 75 minutes or 80 minutes to get that time frame, please, you have to speak to those 4 individuals. They need to know. Hold your questions, please, okay? So we are continuing with training to try to avoid as much as we can these situations. And then another good piece is Chef is working on new menus. So end of March, we should have those in place, both from a regular menu standpoint, but the tavern menu is another one that needs to be redone. Okay, so this is in the works. And if you look at the menu, it does take some time to do this, because there's a significant number of items that need to be. We don't want to get too repetitive with items. So I think the number of different items that he needs is something like 90 different items. It's a big number. So we wanna make sure that we do this properly. All right. Just some updates on activities. We are gonna have a new lecture in March, so you should be paying attention to the calendar. What is palliative care by Heather Golden? I think Heather's from Avow Hospice is the group. This just got changed. We're gonna do it on Thursday, March 15th. The Collier County Sheriff's Department will be doing a presentation on crime prevention. So really good information. We've got a really energetic individual from Collier County Sheriff who will be here. Professor Adrian Kerr on Friday, March 15th at 2, Women Who Change the World. Be curious to see who's in that presentation. Awesome presentation. Some trips. This Friday, Naples Quilt Show. That's still on, right? 10 a.m. departure. Southwest Florida Conservatory trip is scheduled for March 15th. Did I get that right?
Yes, and Mr. Douglas got the fees waived for our.
Oh my God, awesome. Thank you, Mr. Douglas. Mr. Douglas isn't here. March 7th, karaoke with JR starts at 4. March 16, Mr. Ron Spataro, a new performer, right? I don't think we've had Ron before. Music from the 50s, 60s, 70s, starting at 4:30 p.m. And then there will be an Easter brunch on Sunday, March 31st. So lots of different activities coming in March. Please make sure that you sign up. If you do sign up, please make sure that you show up. If you're not gonna show up, please let us know in advance, okay? So we can give the spots to somebody else. So, two groups that have presented to us, two new groups. So the genesis of this, as I've shared with residents, is we've had a medical provider, or I'm gonna call it a geriatric provider here at the community for several years that has provided nurse practitioners that do house visits, that at a certain point did some office hours, but that really did not have any physician direct care. So we've researched a little bit, and we had two different providers present to us, one last week and one just today. Dr. Holly Dagny and Dr. Carlos Gutierrez, who was here just prior to this meeting. They both have themselves physicians that will see the residents face to face. And this was really one of the primary focuses. We wanted to make sure that there was some sort of direct interaction with the physician themselves. We do have, and that's incorrect, I need to fix that, I didn't get the change. Dr. Carlos Gutierrez's group will start with 2 mornings per week. I don't have the start date yet, so please just be patient, we'll get it to you. But they will be on Tuesday and Thursday mornings. They will be using the office here out of the main clubhouse. They'll start at 9 a.m. and they'll be there till 1 p.m. You can book appointments or you can just come and meet them. They will be there. As I shared with the group that was in attendance earlier today, recognize that they're starting with 2 days. That is their commitment to coming and being visible at the community. If there's a real increase in, who they see, they're totally open to making that happen more often, right? So maybe go to 3 days or 4 days a week or extending hours, okay? And then Dr. Dagny, we're still talking with them about some potential dates for them. They are open right now to doing that. We just don't have the days and times that they would be available to do it. So we could potentially have 2 different providers providing services on those different days. All right. Transportation. Couple updates on this front. So we are going to be going to, in about 3 weeks, we're going to be going to a new way to book your medical transportation visits. And the goal here is to be much more effective and efficient with the use of this service. This is an awesome service. However, we've seen over the last, I'm gonna say probably maybe 8 months to even a year, lots of people not showing up, lots of incorrect information. I will say that sometimes bad on us, we haven't really taken the information down correctly. Sometimes the resident maybe confused one provider with another one. Whatever the reason is, we're going to be going to a new way to reserve your medical transportation. We're going to have one specific staff member that's going to be available on 3 days to take the reservations. Okay, so it's not going to be one of 5 different people that could take your medical transportation. It's going to be one person. The bit of a negative to this is that it's going to happen on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, okay? But it's going to start on Monday, March 18th. That staff member will be available from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. So we are really going to communicate this consistently. You'll probably feel like I'm a broken record because I want to drill this home with people. There'll be a phone number that you can call directly, or you'll be able to go to the desk and reserve with that staff member, live and in person. Okay, so those will be the 2 mechanisms that, so it does demand a little more organization on your behalf to recognize that those 3 afternoons will be taking reservations, but from a coordination standpoint and from minimizing the number of errors that we're getting, we really believe that this is going to be an effective tool for us. And I think what it's going to do, it might free up some of our transportation services, and I'm not going to commit to it 100% yet, but we might be able to provide some other transportation services if we get a little more structured and a little more organized. Okay? March 18th. So we've got a couple weeks, 3 weeks away before we launch into this. We'll communicate, we'll continue to communicate it to everybody. All right. So this continues, soft wash of the buildings around the community. As far as I know, they were completing building 5 today. I believe, did they start 6?
Yes.
Okay, so they got to 6, that's a good sign. So if they're on 6 today, by the end of this week, they should have completed 6 and 7. Okay, so we should be through the buildings. We will be reviewing the buildings, looking at the end result. The provider so far has been very collaborative, very open to if we see areas that need to be addressed or retouched, absolutely wants to make sure that they do a really good job for the building. So more to come once we get closer to the end of this week on this work. We've talked about this, that if you have items on the exterior of your lanai, just to move those back, get them away from the perimeter. If you have any issues with anything, please reach out to myself or Jim, and we'll do our best with the contractor to work through those issues. Carport cleaning will continue this week. The spots, vehicles do need to be removed. Did I put this? I hope I put I didn't put the spot numbers in. It's 58 through 70, I think. Those are the spots that will be cleaned this coming Thursday. So by end of day today, we would ask if you park your vehicle in one of those spots to have it removed, and you can put it back on Friday. We talked about the benches. So we chatted with our housekeeping team. Even though they're newer carpets, we've had a few issues or accidents, I'm going to call them, in some of the hallways. So we're going to start looking at getting those hallways cleaned already. So some of the carpets, I know in some of the buildings that I was walking, I was here on Sunday morning a little bit, and then last week there was a couple that need to be addressed. So we will be addressing those. Please remember to tie tightly your trash bags before you insert them into any of the trash cans, okay? All right. Oh, that I forgot. So elevator. So we talked about the refurbishment. Remember, this is not refurbishment. This is elevator modernization. So people ask me, well, what does that mean, modernization? Are we getting new elevators, is the question. It is effectively a new elevator. That's what it means. They don't go in and pull the whole elevator out and insert a new one, but they modernize the elevator that's there, okay? So as you can imagine, these elevators installed probably in 2001, 20 plus years old. There's been some changes in technology and how elevators work. I'm not an expert in the area, but I know that there's been changes made. We need to modernize our elevators. So it is scheduled for 2024. There are a couple elevators that are higher priority. Building 2, one of them. Building 5 is another one. Okay, so those are the 2 highest priority elevators right now. We've done the research, even though residents think that their elevator is the one that's always down. We've done the research. We've looked at the last couple of years to see the activity. Those are the 2 first focuses. I know this for a fact that all of the quotes and all of that have been completed. I'm waiting for the actual scheduling of that work. Okay, so that's the next piece. Once I get that schedule, we'll be communicating that to the residents. I will share with all of you that with this comes a little bit of heartache. They don't go in, pull it out, and pop in a new one. So during the work, there is no elevator for potentially 3 to 4 weeks. Okay? As I said, this is a full-born process. So I'm giving you advance notice now that when it's your turn, this is gonna happen. We are gonna put some things in place. However, we're not gonna have a unit to transport residents, right? We're gonna have staff members that can help. We're gonna have staff members that can deliver food or deliver other items to you, but we're not gonna have an elevator to go up and down. Some people have said, well, we need a chair, or we need a lift, or we've looked at a rope. A rope, hold on.
Zip line, Mark, zip line.
Believe me, there will not be. Okay, so I don't know how to be more direct than that. There will not be. So we'll have planned for food deliveries. We'll have planned for other things. We'll have people that can help, bring your walker down or your device down, or, I did that a couple times on Sunday when I was here. So we will do those things. But if there is someone, and there are several residents, and we'll have these conversations with them, that absolutely for that period of time have to be able to navigate it and cannot, then they are gonna have to come up with an alternative plan. Okay? All right. So there is some pain there. We'll help residents, navigate stairs. Each resident will be responsible for assessing their situation. Obviously, we'll get in front of it and we'll speak with the residents as necessary to see what can be done. Okay? Just hold the question, Linda. I'll let you ask the first question, okay? We're almost done. We're gonna communicate in advance. I talked about the elevators that are on the priority list. We will share that information as soon as it becomes available. All right, I told you I was almost there. So you're gonna take the mic. Mr. Newman will be in a second. And then who else had a question?
A comment, actually.
Gina will be third. So we're gonna go to Linda first, please, and then Mr. Newman.
Hi, I'm in building 209. I just have an observation.
Mm-hmm.
If you stand in front of building 2, the left side of the building, the stairway, one of the hand railings is very, very loose.
Okay.
I would suggest that that's fixed before we have to start going up and down.
Perfect. Can I ask you, did you call the front desk and put a work order in?
No, this happened over the weekend.
No, that's fine, it's fine. That would be helpful. That, I can follow up, but if they get the work order in the system, at least it's being tracked in the system.
Make sure you tell them it's priority.
Mr. Newman's next. We're going through all the building 2 residents.
I have a couple of things. Number one, people have asked me why I didn't run for a building 2 again. I want to make it clear that I've had 2 years of positive experience. I've enjoyed it. And I want to give somebody else the opportunity from the building to understand what goes on. I have been educated for 2 years, and it's been fun.
Thank you. And it's been a pleasure working with you.
Right.
For those of you that don't know this, Mr. Newman has been doing the minutes for those meetings. That's a lot of work. So thank you. Thank you for everything that you've been
I'm in
doing.
progress on the last meeting now. It'll be done.
All right. He's got one more to do. He's gonna close it out and then he's done. He's not doing it anymore.
I have a couple of thoughts though.
Yep.
One is, with regard to the food delivery system in the dining hall, you need to make sure that the waiters have a set time that they get those notes into the computer, because
Correct.
there's sometimes a very long period before they decide to put them in the computer.
Correct.
That adds to the problem. The other thing was, thank you for a quick response on the elevator, even though the fact of the matter is, it's been downhill for some time. I know that funding has been an issue and that you are constrained by your budget. And I wanna thank you for everything you've done to try to get that fixed. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'm gonna touch on 2 quick things before, and then Gina gets the microphone next. You're absolutely right about the servers. So in some of the cases that we've researched, we found that the server did not put the ticket in.
Right.
Okay? So that has happened. Because there was, the other piece to this was, oh, it's the kitchen, because the server says, yes, I took the order and I put it in. When you start to research that, we can tell. And we found, I'm aware of at least 4 situations where they delayed putting the ticket in. So you're absolutely right. It's enabled us to do some significant follow-up with staff members. So we're gonna continue to do that. And it's why I encourage you to share those long waits with those people, okay? Because it brings it front and center, and it puts it right in front of them so that they can research it. They work with the business office on researching, getting those numbers so that they can do it. And then the last piece I'll share with you about the elevator. The elevator this has nothing to do with lack of funding, okay? Because we address, if we have an elevator issue, we address it right away. And if we have to bring in a technician over, like, off hours, at night, on a weekend, on a holiday, we do it. We don't wait and say, oh, we're gonna wait until Monday or wait until Tuesday. We were Saturday, Jim and I were on the phone, we were trying to get them to send somebody on Sunday. We called a bunch of different people. We weren't able to do it, unfortunately, but we were both on trying to get them to send somebody on Sunday. And they'll charge more, whatever, it doesn't matter, we need to get it back operational. For the modernization, it does not come from our operations budget, okay? It's a capital expenditure. It gets funded out of a different bucket. So, and I don't manage that bucket, I manage the operations budget at the community. So I just want to reiterate that it's not a dollars and cents issue. I'm hopeful that soon I'm gonna have those scheduled dates for the modernization.
I just know that the first time I got stuck, it was about 40 minutes in there, and then down the road, it went down to 20 and 20. So that's because it took time to get people in.
Yeah.
But I wanted to thank you for at least improving that part of it.
Yep. Well, believe me, it's a priority. It's an absolute priority. When we got the call on Saturday, I was in town, Jim was out of town, he was in Clearwater, but he was on the phone, I think, for at least 3-4 hours that night. So we're gonna push it, but believe me, it's a huge priority. Gina had a question or comment.
It's already been addressed, but it was a comment about the food and the fact that it's stamped a certain time doesn't mean that
it got put in.
Right, so so you're aware of that, and that's
Yeah.
great, because it is a problem.
Yeah.
But we have had that happen too many times,
Right.
and then the food gets there, and it's cold.
Oh,
And, we've heard excuses like, well, it's the air conditioner, it makes it cold. Nobody wants to eat cold food. The air conditioner is still way too cold in that dining room.
Yes.
And if that's part of the problem, we need to do something about it, for two reasons. We're freezing, and so is the food.
Well, thank you. We'll go and go through the AC. I know that we've made some adjustments. If we need to adjust it again, we will. My understanding is we were trying to keep it around 73. I think 73 was kind of the degree, but I'll have them check that.
Perhaps one of the reasons there is it gets left in the kitchen, even though they closed it out, it's still left in the kitchen, doesn't get outside.
Oh, absolutely. It does sit in a warmer section, so there's heating elements that heat it, but if it sits there, even if it sits there for 20 minutes, it's not the right temperature, guaranteed. I think Neil had a question actually.
Yeah, Mark, on the signage project, is that going to include the signage that's necessary after the painting of the villas?
It does not. That's a separate item. Yeah.
And do we know where Bill is, or Jim is on that?
I do not off the top of my head. Let me find out. It's interior signage, just for clarification, it's interior signage in the residential, the 6 residential buildings. Carolyn?
When the elevator is down for these 3 to 4 weeks, those of us who do our own shopping have to bring the packages up the stairs.
Mhm.
Will there be somebody to help us?
That's part of when I talk about deliveries and having staff to help you, yes.
Okay, and the second part of it is, and I know this was raised at the last meeting of, the council, but, the elevator, in the stairwells, the doors on the 2nd and 3rd floor are extremely difficult to open, especially when you're carrying up, like I deliver the newspapers in building 2.
Different packages.
And different packages. Is that going to be addressed? Because it's very, very, very heavy to open those doors.
Mhm.
Difficult, I should say.
So we did talk about this at the resident council. We do not have plans to put automatic openers on those doors, okay? And the primary reason is notwithstanding the shutdown of the elevator. In normal times, residents would use the elevator, right? And not the staircase.
Right.
So we do not see the need, rightly or wrongly, to put openers on those doors, 2nd and 3rd floor doors. I will make note of it relative to this time frame when it's out, to see if there's not something that we can do to make it easier to access those doors.
And my follow-up question is, why do you have them on the 1st floor?
Because there you could have individuals with an assisted device.
But you can
Try-
on the 2nd and 3rd too?
Well, they're not gonna navigate the staircase, right? Somebody who's walking with a walker,
Yeah.
they're not gonna navigate the staircase under a normal circumstance, right? That's why. Now, this is a different circumstance, so that, doesn't hold, but normally when the elevator's operational, they're gonna use the elevator.
I'm in building 4, and they've cleaned the walls outside. Who does the windows?
So the same guy is also at the same time cleaning the windows, so the same company, I hear you, I get it. Everybody's opinion's gonna be different, right? I remember clean my windows, I would hand clean every window. So we're gonna assess it at the end of the project, as I said, we're gonna go and assess and if we need to do some follow-up, we'll do some appropriate follow-up.
Because if they blow that through the screens, that all goes on your windows.
So-
And then you got nice slide dirt.
I get it. So this has been part of our conversation with the contractor, I'm gonna fall. with the contractor is they've done this before, and because of the soft wash process, this is not pressure cleaning, okay? So he's not blowing, he's soft washing the building and the windows. Now, it doesn't mean that there's not gonna be areas that need to be touched up. We're gonna address those. What I would recommend is, please, if you can, this will be helpful to me, reach out to me directly. Send me an email would be perfect. If you could send me an email and say, hey, you know, I think this area, and I don't mind if I get 80 different emails, or that's fine. That will help us walk through it with him and see what we can do to rectify the issue. But one of the reasons why we chose this contractor is because the other ones we met were pressure cleaners, right? They come in with a big pressure cleaner and it blows everything all over the place.
But the other question
Mhm.
also is when I moved in, I'm on the second floor, and behind the railings, which is outside the screen, all this debris from the trees gets stuck behind there. There's no way you can get them out.
So our housekeeper can help you with that. If you speak to Maria, our director of housekeeping, and you have a specific area that you want to address, they'll do that. They'll work on that.
It's on the outside of the street.
No, you're saying it's on the inside. Oh, it's on the outside. Okay, so we'll look at those. I will tell you that the screens are not part of his scope. So the person that's washing the buildings right now, the screens are not part of it.
No, but what I'm saying is they're jamming.
Understood.
They're jamming the stuff behind, you know.
Okay, yeah.
But they use a blower to blow that off, housekeeping does.
Housekeeping can use a blower to blow it off. Okay, let me just make a note on that. Okay, yep.
No, no, Mark, you did not make any mention of.
Point it like an ice cream cone. No, like a straight ice cream cone.
Okay, who do you think I am, Biden?
I need to get you some sunglasses.
You did not make any mention of having to move cars for their soft washing of buildings?
Oh, yeah, we have.
That's what I'm talking about, the,
Well, I mentioned that vehicles need to be moved, but in all of our updates, we've been talking
yeah, but
about,
not today.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Move the cars, please. 6 and 7.
6 and 7 is usually bumper to bumper.
There's spots across the way
Can we
in 6.
cheat and go across the way?
Yeah, absolutely,
If we
go
go-
across the
okay,
way.
good, thank
Yep. Now's the time to cheat.
Yeah.
We will not tag your car, promise.
We're not gonna get towed.
So Dorothy has a question. Oh, sorry, Evan.
Mark, the building that's at the entrance of Aston Gardens from St. Croix, right? Is that ever going to get painted? Because all the buildings were painted and this one was left, I mean, it looks awful, inside and outside.
So we did actually clean it the other day inside. I know that we did that. It does need to be painted, so thank you. Or torn down.
Yes, either or, yeah.
Yep.
I think the building cleaners are ahead of your schedule, because they've actually cleaned building 6 today, so no cars were moved, and I think building 7 is probably going to be cleaned tomorrow.
I don't think so.
people need
I don't
to-
think they finished 6 today, but I'll check. I'll
Well,
look
they
into
started
it.
first thing this morning.
Correct, but I don't think they finished it in one day. They haven't finished one building in one
People
day.
didn't move any cars,
Right, but
and I'd moved my plants, fortunately.
they'll circle back. They'll still be able to go back to building 6, but we'll follow up with them to make sure. Yeah. Judy.
We keep on seeing the notice on the TB 9005, that the speed limit is 15 miles per hour.
Mhm.
You need to take down the signs that are on the outside buildings that say 20 miles per hour.
Understood.
People don't, of course, people don't pay much attention anyway, so they're not even going 20 most of the time.
Okay.
But
The ones that are going 20 are probably going like 17. And the ones that are not going 20 are going 30 or 35.
biggest offenders for speeding are the waste management trucks.
Yes.
They,
Everywhere.
they need to be addressed.
Okay. Thank you. You got a choice, you can pick anybody you want.
Mark, one thing that didn't come up that we talked about in the resident council, and I hope we are gonna address it, are the stop signs. We were talking about possibly lights flashing or reflectors or something,
So I didn't share it because I don't have a potential solution yet.
but we are working on that.
Yep.
Thank you.
It probably looks like that we're gonna replace the actual sign. Because what happens when you look at those signs, the way they're built, initially they're made to reflect. Over time, they lose their reflectiveness. So the solution might be just to put a new sign up. But I haven't confirmed that 100%, so we're still working on it. Yep. I'm not sure where we are.
Right here.
Mr. Harrison.
In building two, we had.
Point it at your mouth.
Okay, in building two, after the elevator repair people were there for 2 days, the elevator broke down again a half hour later. And I just wondered.
They were there for a day.
Well, it
Well,
looked
sorry,
like
they
it.
came Saturday,
Yes.
and then they came back Monday.
Right, right.
Correct.
I'm just wondering whether you check the competency of these repair people. I think that's happened like for the third time.
They came back again.
Have you got the best people to repair these things, or is this gonna be a continuing problem with lack of total repair?
So we changed, relative to that, approximately 2 years ago, we made a change with our provider. We had the original elevator company, Schindler. Believe it or not, it was worse. Significantly worse. Like the response time was terrible. This group, the responsiveness is much better. We have had a few incidents similar to the one that happened on Monday, where the technician comes, seems to have resolved the issue, and literally, I rode that elevator on Monday afternoon 8 times.
And I got stuck in it half an hour almost.
So I rode it 8 times, up and down, up and down, up and down, and it was functioning fine. I literally got back to the clubhouse and my phone rang. And it wasn't, so the technician did come back out. I think it was resolved maybe around 7 o'clock, 6:30, 7 o'clock. I have to go back and check the messages. We're looking into that, I can tell you that right now. As part of the modernization program, there may be a change. I don't know that 100% yet, but we're looking at that.
It seems to me that's key.
It is important, that once they come and fix it, they diagnose the right issue and fix the right issue. Yeah. All right, Mrs. Broca, Martha, you're up.
Back to refurbishing the elevators. About 3 years ago, they redid ours, beautiful, and about 3 weeks later, a moving van brought in a bookcase and took a hunk off of it. Is there any way that we can keep the moving vans responsible for what they do?
We can. Took a hunk out of what?
The new siding on the elevator, the new, what do they call it?
In building 3?
Building 4.
We haven't refurbished building 4.
Well, this was a couple of years ago,
Mm-mm.
but immediately they,
That's an original cabin in building 4.
okay.
It hasn't been changed. Notwithstanding the moving company probably did take a chunk out of it. It will get fixed. The new cabin has 2 features to it. There's actual protective, blankets that will go up for the walls. And then the actual ceiling, as you can tell in the ones that haven't been done, some of them don't have it anymore. Some of them are broken. We put a ceiling that can get removed to create more space for the movers. So those are the 2 of the things that we put in place once we do the refurbishment. So blanket covers and then the collapsible ceiling panels. Mr. Hyatt.
Yes, I have 3 issues or questions. First, for the newspaper, I also have the problem that they don't deliver out of the elevator, or furthermore, they don't write the apartment number on the jacket. When people are complaining, not only complain to the Naples Daily News, but if you get the Wall Street Journal, New York Times, something else, discussion with them. They pay the Daily News to deliver their papers, and they have pressure too.
It's a fantastic point, thank you.
Second one would be, what is your goal for the time between order taking in the dining room and delivery of the meal?
It depends on how busy it is. It really does depend on how busy it is. But I would venture to say if we're busy, because that's, most of the time, that's when there's a significant issue. From that start to finish time, we would like to stay under 45, 50 minutes. That would be good, when we're busy. If we're not, like there was a situation the other day where we weren't as busy, and it took 45 minutes. Probably shouldn't have taken 45 minutes, right? Probably should have taken 30 minutes. So those will vary, but if it's busy,
I've sat in there.
and I'm not standing here saying it never happens, that it's an hour and 15 minutes or an hour and 20 minutes, or we've had nights when people have walked out, right? They didn't even wait to see what the time was gonna be. I get it. I can tell you some of the analysis I've done, the majority of the time we're in that window, right? But there are situations like the ones that Mr. Newman and Gina brought up where, everybody thinks it's the kitchen that didn't push the food out, but the server sat on the order for 20 minutes. So then it just gets delayed. But I would say if we can stay in a busy night, that 50-minute, 45, 50-minute, I think we're doing okay.
I see your server where she takes 5 or 6 tickets, and then she takes them to the kitchen.
It can happen. But if she does it right away, or they do it right away, then that should be okay.
Right.
So, sometimes, they don't, for whatever that reason is.
I'll share. That's my last
Yep.
point. Would be back to the item of the lady who has trouble with the leaves from the trees. They stick in screens outside lanais and windows. When you're into your tree trimming, what's your guidance for how far trees should be from these areas? Because there are people with trees right up against screens, whether they're palm trees or hardwoods within 1 or 2 feet of screens. You get the dirt from the trees, you get the leaves. And
So
it's
certainly,
best for your staff.
certainly nothing should be touching any of the buildings. So none of the trees, and I know there are, but none of the trees should be touching any of the buildings. They should be far enough away so that a rodent, varmint, cannot jump onto the building.
How many feet?
I'll let the experts do that one. Okay, I'm not the, it says 5 feet, somebody told me once it's 5 feet. I mean, it depends, but though, primarily keep them away from the buildings as much as you can, and, not this far away from the building, because then, you can get easy access to the building, but that's kind of the concept.
How much training do the waiters, waitresses?
Sorry, I didn't hear the first part.
Training.
Training?
Training.
Yeah.
Yes.
What?
Is there appropriate amount of time or discipline that is taken?
Oh, absolutely. And servers, so let me share with you that a server, if we hire someone to work in culinary, I'm not talking about the kitchen staff, but let's talk about the servers. If they have little to no experience in service, in food service, they will not serve initially. They're gonna bus tables. Once we feel comfortable that they're able to do it, then we may transition them into that service. If they come to us with some experience, then they'll be evaluated and assessed as to what level they're at. There is no doubt, however, that we work, our server base is our students, a lot of them high school students. So what do you get with high school students is it's their first job, right? They haven't worked anywhere else, they haven't really done anything else, so they probably don't have a significant amount of experience, so they do need to be trained. But they do. We're not gonna take somebody who's never served anybody and say, okay, here you go serve, you know, you've got 24 people that you need to go serve. You have 5 or 6 tables that you have to look at. All right. Oh, one more. Dinner has started. Marie's like, I wanna go eat. Enough already. Last question, go ahead.
One more.
Oh, one more.
On the parking stickers,
when we first moved in, which has been about a month, we filled out the form.
No sticker.
Where does it show up? Cause I don't even know where to look to see that I have one, but I
So-
don't see anything.
We should come to you with the sticker.
Okay, nobody's come to me.
Give me your apartment number again.
We're in building 2307.
Thank you.
Also, name tags come under that same thing, Mark.
We did get that back.
And some people are not getting their name tags.
Okay, I'll look at that. I'm not surprised about the parking stickers. No, one more question, and I think it's here. Sorry, people are gonna go eat.
I know, everybody wants to go.
Go ahead, Judy.
Getting back to servers, how much training they had. I was at a table for dinner one night, somebody asked for cottage cheese with onions and tomatoes on it, which she probably likes. The server did not know what cottage cheese was. Unbelievable. And then we had a server Friday who spoke very little English.
Okay. Thank you. All right, Mary, you wanna close out?
Okay.
Go ahead, Mary gets to ask the last question.
This has to do with sidewalks.
I'm a walker in the morning, and my eyesight, thank God, is still good. The sidewalk between villas B and C
Okay.
is raised up by the driveway at least 2 inches on one side and an inch or more on the other. I see it, I avoid it. Someone's not gonna see it, and that's a big liability. And I did bring this up last year. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, everyone, thank you for coming. Have a fantastic day.